Okay, so today I'm working on pockets for a Super Bloom tote by So Sweetness. And I'm not teaching you how to make pockets. I'm just giving you some tips for those of you who already know how to make pockets. So this kind of pocket is the one where you sew your lining right sides together to your exterior, and then you sew around the box, cut it in the middle, and flip it through. And I find that that always kind of gives us sort of a messy box. So the first tip that I'm giving you here today is I'm showing you that if you iron that seam open as you're flipping your pocket to the back, you're gonna get a more defined line. Now, I will say, and you'll see it in the next bit of this video, that you do still see some of the pocket on the front. Like when you're folding it back like this, even with sewing that seam, it helps reduce that, but it's still there. If you want to minimize that, try to match your lining to the color of your zipper tape. So in this case, I probably should have used navy, but I ran out of navy. So my pockets are red instead. So you'll still see a little bit of that in this next bit. But you iron the back that way, and then you're going to iron the front just like this. And that helps hold everything flat and down and really nice and makes it just that nice crisp rectangle. So then you get to the actual zipper part, and you can kind of see the red around the box, but it's not nearly as bad. The first thing I did there was I heat sealed the edges of my nylon webbing. Going to install my zipper pull. And the second tip here to get that zipper to land where you want is to take 1/8 double-sided tape, put it on the very, very edges of the top and bottom of your zipper, and then you can use that to help center it behind that box. This is tip number 2. And you'll see I'm going to start with the top, and I'm only going to do one side at a time. And I'll take that off. And I'm going to put my zipper behind. You can see I have my pocket folded out of the way, one side down, one side up, because of the way that this is installed. Not all pockets are installed that way. And remember, I'm just giving tips. I'm not teaching you necessarily how to put in a pocket. We've kind of done that before. So I did the top. Now I'm going to do the bottom. And you can see I oversized my zipper a little bit so that it's on either side. So I don't have to worry about a perfect center. You don't have to do that. I think it's easier to oversize my zippers a little bit, and then I can just cut them down later. So I've got the tape. And you see if I used a navy lining, you wouldn't be able to see that line around the box. So if you don't like the line, match your lining to your zipper. I take it over to the sewing machine, and you'll notice as I'm sewing that I don't backstitch. And that's because I'm going to take those threads and I'm just going to pull them to the back and tie them off. It just looks cleaner. I'm using black coordinating thread so that you can't really see it. And just folding things out of the way, you can see there's my strings that I folded out of the way. And that tape is helping hold that zipper in place so it doesn't move. I did lose my scissors for a second. Now, when we're done, the next step is I want you to take that double-sided tape off just on those ends as much as you kind of can, because the less your needle has to go through it, the better. You don't want to gum up your needle if you don't have to. And see, so I get it out of the way of where I'm going to sew over the pocket. Then I can take my pocket and fold it down, and I take it to an ironing board and I just iron it to make sure it's nice and flat. I did clip the edges to hold it in place. And then in a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm going to start on one side and I'm just going to sew down one side, across the bottom, and then up the other side. And in this case, I'm just kind of being lazy. I didn't measure. It's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. And so there we go. So now the pocket is technically sewn. I'm going to come back over, and now we trim down the seam allowance. So I start with my corners. I always cut my corners on a diagonal. And then I'm going to cut down the sides. And now we've cut through that nylon again, so I do heat seal it again. I don't want my zipper to fray at any point. Now it is far enough away from the sewing that that should never really be a problem. This is not a zipper that gets pulled on, but I still, personally, I will heat seal it every time. So heat sealing zippers is super important. And then once I've done that, and I've heat sealed it, the pocket is complete. And you might say, well, Jenna, your pocket is sticking out of the corners of the bottom. In this pattern, that's part of it getting sewn in to stay flat when I put this pocket on. So that's fine. But now we have a fully functional pocket, and that's just some tips on how to make your pockets easier.